Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Connery, and thanks for tuning into my car build. Recently, I told you guys I was going to go down to EFI University and take a couple classes. Well, ended up only taking one class because the other class is already full. But it's kind of a good thing I didn't take the other class as well, and I'm just going to let you guys know a little bit about it. The class I took was called EFI 101, which is a starter class, which basically everybody needs to take this class, and then from there on out you can either go to advanced tuning or you can go to all these other specific areas of tuning where it could be more like it's just more like engine blueprinting and all these EFI advanced, which is I think more dyno tuning, and there's a couple other classes that are just focused on strictly the tuning software. And so basically when you go to class, you get this, and basically, let's see, this is a 80-page notebook, and they run you through all the essentials of what an engine is, what it can do, what its capabilities are, so a lot of AFR ratios, that type of stuff, a lot of volumetric efficiency, calculating all your air densities. I mean, that's just really basic stuff, which if you're watching this video and you're debating whether you're going to go or not, and let me just kind of tell you like my background. My background is I've never taken a class, an official like class on the automotive world. Like, I've been an enthusiast for 10 years, roughly 10 years, and I know about camshafts, I know about, turbo kits, all that stuff, like all that, but I never really knew the tuning side of it. So that's a good thing for me, because that's something I would recommend you if you were gonna make the best out of his classes. Make sure you know about all that stuff. Like, you gotta know what engine parts are, or not engine parts of an engine are, like pistons, camshafts, valves, cylinders, all your parts of an engine, the cubic inches. Those are like something that, the acronyms or the terminology of an engine. You really should be comfortable with that before taking this class, because if you're not, you're going to be blown away. Because the very first thing they go over is basically engine cycles, like what differences between a two-stroke and a four-stroke. That is barely touched on. Essentially, that's like the first 15 minutes. So if you don't even know what a two-stroke and a four-stroke is, brush up on that. So all your basic engine terminology type stuff, you should really know. You should know what a header is, or intake plenum is, things like that. And let's see, yeah, you should really know all that stuff. The other thing is your algebra should be pretty good too, because there's a lot of math in the class. About 60% of the time, it's talking about math. That's what an engine is. Engines are mechanical devices. Everything's calculated. There should be no mysteries. Okay, so on that side of things, you should know your math very well. Okay, let's talk about the good things about this class. Now, they think it's a class, but really, it's not really like a class like you go to high school or college and there's a professor and everybody's just writing like crazy, or sleeping for that matter. The class is taught by a guy that knows his stuff. So, like, I mean, knows his stuff because he actually does it for a living. Not a guy that, see, like your high school teacher who's teaching you like woodworking stuff that he just kind of learned a couple years back and he's just re-uttering it or regurgitating it back to you. No, the guys, at least the shop I was at, the professor or teacher or instructor, whatever you want to call it, he's really good. He's involved in all these professional level of racing. So the class kind of has that flavor. A lot of that flavor is in there. Like the racing world, what do you do? All these, not all of just, okay, this is an engine, it should do this, it should do that. And, like, they'll back it up with stories that they've done. With like one of the stories was him talking about, when we were talking about the dyno, and somebody asked how much can a dyno really handle, and he mentioned that he had some dyno system at his shop. He's from Ohio, by the way, that he's teaching in Texas. And he said he had some diesel truck that pushed out like 1,300 foot-pounds. 1,300 foot-pounds of torque at like 100 psi. So that to us is something that says your brain needs to think outside the box a little bit. So that's a good sign of the class. There's a lot of different perspectives from one community to another community, because the instructor is primarily a big block guy, and there's a lot of Honda guys in there, me included, and there's a lot of shop owners that attended the class. There's a lot of enthusiasts. There's other teachers that were in the class, but primarily there's a lot of people that want to get into the tuning world, or shops that are providing the tuning stuff, but they've contracted the work out, and they just want to keep the money, essentially. And that's another good thing too. If you're a shop owner and you're looking at this video, you're not going to be the only person there. So there's a wide spectrum of people that are actually there at EFI 101. Okay, the bad things about the class. The bad thing is they tend to cover a lot of very general stuff. So when you're trying to ask, say like I'm from AEM. I'm not from AEM. I use AEM, and I use Honda. That's going to be the two tuning software that we're going to be most accustomed to from the Honda world, and they really didn't want to focus too much on a certain saw tuning software, just because I think they have to keep the class very generalized, and a lot of that the tuning stuff is not really covered. The actual tuning on the dyno was done on Sunday. It's a 2-day class, so first day is basically all paperwork, calculating this, calculating that, and then second day is review day 1, and then onto the dyno. The day 2 is more like a 4-hour class. You spend about 2 hours on the dyno, 2.5 hours on the dyno, and really it was good to know what they did. I'm not gonna give away all the stuff because I think that you should attend class to see this, but it was really good what they did just to demo it. But at the same time, it was like done on a software system that if you didn't like it, their systems that they're accustomed to using, then to you you're kind of like maybe I got the gist of it, but how do you apply it to your tuning system? That's what you have to get away from, I guess you can say. So basically, you have the AFRs your targeted AFRs you're trying to reach, and then you have the timing you have to account for, and you have to do it on a dyno that can also get you those capabilities to do. And then we discussed dynos, different types of dynos, why dyno jets suck, why all these other dynos are better, and the prices between them, and what you get from it, and street tune versus a dyno tune, and things like that. So yeah, that's kind of what I got from it. A lot of just information that kind of glued everything together. Like when you put an intake on a car, why do you have to retune it? Say when you put a turbocharger on a car, why do you have to retune it? Why does your timing have to be adjusted versus an all-motor car? Boost pressures, the range of boost from 0 kPa to 101 kPa, and different units of measurement. That was the major thing too that I never got when I was just reading online. Everyone's talking about this pressure versus that pressure versus that pressure. I guess when you go to class, the guy who taught it was really knowledgeable about all that stuff, so it really doesn't matter. They all mean the same thing as long as you do the conversions right. So that was the other thing too that I think I kind of noticed in class was a lot of the kids, I don't want to say kids, a lot of the students, they weren't up to spec in their math. So some of them were kind of like on edge. And I was always there. I mean, after Saturday's class, I went home and I reviewed everything. I mean, it was kind of, you had to suck it in basically, or soak it in. And Saturday night was that night. I spent about a good 5 hours at the hotel after I took the class, and I soaked it all in. I went back on Sunday. I understood basically everything I needed to do, and I got a lot from the class, but I don't know if everybody else did. Like I said, there's a lot of math involved, so brush up on your math. Not in calculus, but definitely algebra, where you have to do conversions and basically like this is equal to this times this. So if you were going to get this, you take this and you make this divide by that. I don't know, my hand gestures was kind of messed up, but that's what it is. That was EFI 101. I was originally going to sign up for EFI Advanced as well, but after looking at the curriculum, it was all on the dyno, and that I think is aimed more towards the guys that are gonna be doing dyno tuning, like as a source of income. If you're the guy that just wants to know how it's done, then go ahead as well. But at the same time, for me, I'm only doing it to tune one car, so to me the dyno sessions they're not that informative, or they're not required, you can say, for me. So more than likely, I do know the differences between the dynos, and I do know how to set the dynos up. Probably once I rent out a dyno, that's probably the thing I'm going to be doing. I'll rent a dyno for, say, 2 hours. And that should be enough time to do your field maps and your ignition, if you know what you're doing, if you're very familiar with the tuning software you're playing with. I mean, that's just to get your maps and everything charted. To do the... Oh, here's the other thing they didn't cover. They didn't cover any of the idle features of a certain package of software. They don't cover that. So the breakpoints, if you're familiar with your tuning software, so idle, breakpoints, startup, things like that, they don't cover. They briefly mention that you should enrich a little bit more when it's really cold, just to get the engine started, but they don't show you how to. It's just mentioned, like a couple seconds. But yeah, there's no way you can cover all of that in a 1 day, 2 day course. So they can basically give you a good introduction into it, but I guess if you want to know more about that, the specifics, then you have to take more classes. Alright? So anyways, that's the review. Took the class, got my certificate. It's somewhere around here. Yeah. So, there you go.